didn't really cancel it, I moved it somewhere else, but so I just have to go in and update all the new meetings and what we're gonna do.
Right. Setting it up. So did you see this time it remembered who I was, so I did not need to. Okay, yay. Good. Now where's my Zoom?
Excuse me, is it using paper?
Gloria.
Oh, Gloria, sorry. We're streaming live today too. Just so you know that we're also.
Okay. Right, so we're live and we're also otherwise live.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's got you.
Yeah.
Yes, we're Tertia. No, I
You're gonna leave that up?
for a moment.
Oh, okay.
Nobody's here with us.
Okay. All right, well, my
Yeah.
phone, remember, my phone number is on there, anything.
Right.
And I'm still working on trying to, I'll update that in September when we have an idea what we're doing.
Yeah, because I mean, at some point, we're gonna need to add to the instructions about how to log into the YouTube.
Wait, everybody knows how to log into YouTube. This is
Oh,
on here.
okay.
This is, I mean, we can
Oh, we
condense
can say
this.
see other instructions. Oh, look, there's that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody should know how to do this, except they don't, but they should. For
Even
a
I.
year, we've been doing this, so.
And we're being recorded.
Yes. All right.
But
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's your first name?
Thank you.
I'm the person.
And I, Teresa, they seen you?
Minnie's coming in as you go out the gate. He's coming in the gate.
You didn't go all of them?
Yeah, yeah, he could. He's literally supposed to be right there.
So Tori,
Yes.
we are live. We're already live on YouTube and we're already live on Zoom, but there's nobody yet in attendance on Zoom.
Okay.
But we are already live on YouTube.
Okay.
So you can call this meeting to order like whenever you want. I mean, you have a guest still, somebody else is still coming, right?
Yeah, he's right there. Okay. It is 6:31 p.m.
Oh, you know what, Tori, I think you can move over a bit.
I should go with it because
Because
of
the
your
computer
laptop.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
So how about them? When they
Yeah,
get
they'll
a
be
little
speak.
slower.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, that if you speak behind the laptop, you're always gonna be blocked by the laptop.
Right.
The best of that chair.
So children were here today. Or they just came back from the field trip.
Yeah, we just got here around 5 or so that's why we're here. But Analia will be here.
Channeling, hi, I'm
This is
Tori.
Tori. You already met Laura, so I
And this is
can
Dr. Gloria.
hi, good afternoon, welcome. So anything she's there, so yeah. And then I left here back with plates and stuff like that. If you-
Oh, okay.
There.
So what, is some chicken?
I don't know what's left.
I know it's some cabbage and some macaroni and cheese.
Right, so anything, the plates and everything is there.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Thanks, Heidi. Oh, now it's short. Now it's too short. I need a booster seat.
Oh.
Oh.
Maybe you need a different kind of chair.
Exactly, is that chair lower?
It must be.
I'm setting everything up, and that's so fun.
All our YouTubers out there, I'm still trying to get a booster seat here. Hey, Minnie, over there. Yes. Oh, that's much better. That's amazing. It doesn't seem like the height is so different.
Right.
That's a major difference.
Okay, so we have to start, and we have somebody arriving on Zoom as well.
Okay, probably Donna or Beverly.
No.
Ah, Nakia. Oh, Nakia. Thanks, Heidi. Okay. There will be a couple more people that may walk in. Probably Beverly and somebody.
Greetings,
Okay.
everyone. Hi, Miss Tori Bailey.
Hello, Miss Nakia Brazier. How you doing?
I'm good, thank
What
you.
is it? French terminology.
Okay, so Tom Huang is here too.
Hi.
You remember
Hey, Tom.
who he was?
I remember.
Okay,
I
From the
remember.
murals. Hi,
The mayor's-
Tom.
Is he from the mayor's office?
Yeah,
Hello.
your roles.
Okay. Oh, yeah, yes. I thought you was kind of trying to join us this month, Tom. In person.
Well,
I want to make sure
you know,
I see
I
the
wanted
mirror.
to.
It's good
I'll
to
tell
see
you why I've disappeared. My wife had a baby 7 weeks ago, so
The same
that's why I've
baby
kind
had
of
a
dropped off the face of the earth. What?
Oh, so
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you. We've been. I've been wanting to attend, but as you might imagine, that I'm sleep
Oh, no.
deprived.
Whenever you can make it, you can make it. We appreciate it anytime.
Yeah.
You have a girl or a boy?
He's a boy. Boy.
Ah,
Yeah.
a legacy maker. Okay, well,
First grandson too. But
pardon me?
right.
The first grandson. Oh,
The first grandson.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Who's that small right down there? Oh, that's the kid's name twice. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Well, we call the meeting to order at 6:31, and we're here tonight primarily with the topic of available beds in the community. And I'll explain how we came about that particular topic in a few minutes. But first, we want to welcome everyone and make sure that we call for any general public comments. General public comments or any comments you have regarding any topic that's not on the agenda. So you want to update us, Tom, on anything? The mural, where refresh
Yes. Yes, I do. So
Okay.
it's been a little slow because I've been so busy with the baby, but we are still in the contracting phase. We're hoping to get the contract finally with the city done by next month. Last time I was on, Laura gave me a contact for the Hollywood complex. I did get to speak with, I had a meeting, I'm trying to go through my notes because like I have paternity brain, but I did meet with the director there. And, she suggested some people, but most of them kind of didn't really fit what we were looking for, unfortunately. So we're still looking. I'm in touch with She Does Haven, which is the woman's safe house on the property too. So we have candidates there, but I would definitely like to have more of your participation. As a neighborhood council, we are planning to have an engagement day. Down the line, when the mural is installed, where people can come and actually help paint the mural. And write messages on the wall. We are tentatively targeting November for the installation. So maybe on the quick side, we're not sure because there's a whole bunch of approvals that need to happen with the design and the city.
Right. Okay.
I know I only have 2 minutes or something, but
Yeah.
one more thing would be we are looking for landmarks that represent your neighborhood to be able to put into the background of the design.
Tom, we can talk offline on that because I probably know all of them.
Okay, excellent.
But is it just this area or is it the whole spot 6?
It's UNNC, right? What do you think?
I think we're going to focus on. I'm sorry?
Is it UNNC or are you putting a pin in the center and drawing a round circle? So, I mean, what's the radius or what's the geography that you're looking for landmarks?
Right. What backdrop? Is it just particular area?
We were thinking local. We don't have.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is.
What is local, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, in other words, is the Homelessness Services Center hub the center of a circle, or is it UNNC, which, you know, it's a little bit on the north side, but we have specific boundaries.
Yeah.
Or is it CD10, or is it West Adams
Right.
District?
Right.
Yeah. We have
And I
three,
don't mean the new West Adams, I mean where we are, Harvard Heights and Vista, the,
because we have three
historic
neighborhood
West Adams.
councils.
where we, right, so
Right.
what do you
I
think?
wanted to focus on UNNC.
Okay.
I know CD10 is a little bit bigger, stretches to the south of the freeway, so that may come into scope, but we'll have to discuss. But right now, our focal, we're only talking to UNNC as a neighborhood council. I haven't talked to any neighborhood councils south of the freeway.
Right, and I understand you use the word landmark, which is a word I would use, but I assume you mean iconic buildings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not necessarily designated historic resources.
No.
Correct.
Okay.
Something the neighborhoods, people who are in the neighborhood would walk by, see, and be recognized. Like, hey, this is.
I can give you one right now. Our bells.
You're saying Pullman Church?
Yeah, our
That's a lot.
bells. No, but that, yeah. Just, I'm not saying the whole church, but I'm saying
Yeah.
the bells, the actual, that's recognizable. And elegant manner, perhaps. But it's not elegant manner anymore.
Or the Holy Name Church has the iconic, or even you're saying churches, but also public storage at Pico and Crenshaw is very iconic.
Oh, I'm going to write them up in the newspaper.
So,
Jeez.
we can talk.
Yeah,
We can talk.
that's a continual conversation.
Right. I mean, in other words, that would be a good conversation at any number of our committee meetings.
Yeah.
We have planning and zoning.
He passed it to me.
We don't have communications meeting tonight, but they would have been good. So anyway, we can talk offline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any more public comments?
It's,
Yes, please. Thank you. Hi, my name is Nakia Brazier. I am the Community Relations Coordinator for SPA 6 with LASA. And in my work, I am attending several different meeting spaces, or in different meeting places and meeting different people. And so I recently found out about the WIN app. It is created and managed by a nonprofit called Our Community LA. And so I thought they would be a good resource to join UNCC or UNNC to just give information about the app, how to use it. They're looking to increase awareness and use of the app. And so I mentioned your neighborhood council as an audience for a presentation around the WIN app. And so the WIN app, just to give a little bit more context about it, it is a user-driven app that compiles and helps folks identify services that are available throughout LA County. And again, the special thing, or what they really want to highlight, is that it's a user-driven app. And so a lot of the resources that they have compiled have come from, user experience or, client experience.
What's WIN stand for?
Give me 1 second. When in need.
When in need. So it's not just housing and homelessness. It's any service.
There is an acronym. Give me 1 second. I will find that for you. And I did send out the flyers for it, but I believe it's like when in need.
Okay.
The app to go to. So give me 1 second. I'll let you know.
Okay. That's interesting. Did anybody else join? What's the green up there, Laura?
we definitely have some additional people. What, you mean the green? It says I'm screen sharing.
Oh, and what's the red next to it?
Stop
now.
Stop the screen sharing.
The
Yes.
usual
But you
green is going
Right,
with
but
the
if,
red.
but if you would like to go over the rest of the agenda, and then I can undo the agenda and we can see each other.
Well, while we're waiting on
Okay, Tori, it's not when I need it, it's what I need. What I need is what the acronym stands for. So the What I Need app. Mhm.
What I need. Oh, that's interesting. And it covers all types of services, not just housing and homelessness, right?
Correct. Let me, can you read off the services that it covers? Shelter, crisis, food, drop-in, health, legal, hotlines, education, jobs, transit, money, and more.
Wow, that's a good scope. Shelter, prices, food, legal, and
Yes, and you can learn more at www.oclawin.org.
Okay, I'll repeat that, www.oclawin.org.
Correct.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that, Nakia.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Okay. that's good
Nakia, are
information.
you able to drop that into the chat?
Yes, I will do that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and that's Nakia from LASA, one of our community coordinators. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna stop screen sharing for now and get to our guest speakers for the evening. We were not able, Mr. Hendon had emergency with his family, and so he will reoccur on the agenda later in the year. And so we'll talk to him. He's primarily for veteran social services, and we'll sit down and talk with him perhaps in August, September. So we'll see, maybe sooner than that. But in the meantime, I'd like to introduce to you two of our community advocates that have available beds in the community. One is Benny Tenson. He is Executive Director of Licensed Adult Residential Care Association, LARCA, and he'll give you more information about that after we hear from Dr. Gloria Mitchell. She's the manager of Shell Mitchell.
Yeah.
And we'll have her go first. Okay, Dr. Mitchell. So I'll give you a little forward on that. We met at one of the LASA meetings for the community, and I actually met Benny in pouring rain for the Empowerment Congress at Charles Drew University, one of the universities I used to teach at. And with no further ado, we have Dr. Gloria Mitchell. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. I'm not certain. I was glad that my name, because I didn't know what to expect. But I don't know. I guess I'm just supposed to share about what we have.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we have, I open a house for women. This was something I was inspired to do. I used to facilitate divorce support groups, and some of the women through divorce or whatever their traumatic experience was, they were coming and staying in my house. Well, I decided it wasn't safe when a lady came in all scratched up and bleeding one night. So I felt inspired to open a house for women in the city of Los Angeles. So we're located on 53rd in Normandy. And so I got the house thinking, because SHARE, which is an organization that trained me for a peer specialist for people who have a mental illness. I opened the house because SHARE had opened 35 houses for men and only one for women. And I felt that was not fair. And I knew that there were women who needed some support. So anyway, I've been struggling since 2018 when I got the house, trying to find funding for it. And also it's been a challenge housing, keeping women housed. So what happened is that a few months after I opened the house, then I connected with one of the ladies who knew someone, a supervisor at Project 180, who was over the department where women had co-occurring disorders. So I ended up housing in this duplex all of the women with co-occurring disorders. Needless to say, some enjoyed their sobriety and some didn't. So we had the turnover, but we had a system working for a couple of years until COVID. And then when COVID hit, the rehab, the women would come out of jail, they would go to the rehab in Acton, and then they would come to us. And they could stay as long as they needed to until they recovered. So we don't have the 90 days or 30 days, whatever. Whatever they need, they can stay there. So when the COVID hit the rehab, it was forced to close. And so
Wow.
the women, the supervisor could no longer go into the jails to interview people who had different, it's not felonies, but they were usually arrested for other things, not felonies.
Misdemeanor.
Yeah, they were misdemeanors, and even if it was a felony, it wasn't any kind of major offense.
Right.
And so they just basically needed some guidance. And so we had caseworkers, we had everything we needed to help the women to get back on their feet. And so when that system shut down, they could no longer go into the jails because of COVID. The rehab shut down because they couldn't get the clients. So of course we were left with vacant beds. And so not having any funding, even after applying, we do have a DMH master agreement that's unfunded. We also are social enterprise, but we don't have any funding that goes with that either. But basically that's what we have. And recently we have the state certification. So nevertheless, we now have, as of today, because somebody relapsed yesterday. So as of today, we have 14 vacant beds. And the place is fully furnished. Anybody's welcome to see it. You can go online and take a look at Minnie's Shell. That's the name of the organization, minnieshell.org. That's MINNIESSHELL.org. So we do have whatever they need. I'm a retired teacher, so I invite my friends who are retired too. Whatever they need to learn, they can come in and get it. I'm also a former accountant, so anybody who maybe they hadn't filed taxes for several years, well, we help them to do that. We help them not only with getting the IRS situation situated, corrected, but we also help with credit repair, budgeting, anything they need. And then also I'm actually a licensed minister and counselor. And so I listen to them, and I'll tell you, I've learned so much from them. Some of them are so smart. They taught me all about street life. I know more things than I ever wanted to know. So I really, I just really want not just the beds filled, but we need the funding, because we get calls every day, but the people don't have any money.
Right.
And they say they go to Hoppings or they go to different places and can't find funds anywhere. They're out of money, they're out of vouchers, they're out of whatever. So I don't know what to do other than to go around to different meetings and appeal for support so that we can keep these women housed. So that's an overview.
That's a great overview, and that is exactly how I met Gloria, going to a meeting. And so we have to keep discussing these things. And matter of fact, I had a meeting with Hoppings today, and one of their leaders, part of the leadership team, and then they had a meeting after the meeting at their headquarters. So we're gonna continue that within the next 7 days. So if we continue, maybe we come up with some more solutions and close some of the gaps that are in the systems. Because with the amount of people, after I tallied up the data last month, we have like 94,000 people. Now, yesterday or day before, they had a report where they housed 14,000 people. But how many of those people have come back out in the last week or two? So as they get housed, if they're not getting housed in a permanent individual residence for permanent housing, they leave shelters. They come back out to where they're accustomed, where they're comfortable, where they feel safe. And a lot of them have expressed that within the four walls is not exactly where they want to be yet because of the anxiety and depression and different other disorders. So that's something about what we talked about today, about being matched by systems and machines. because some of them have developed relationships with people that can be caregivers where they are. So it's like that caregiver should be somewhere close because neither one of them have a car, and they need to support one another. So we got to figure out a better way for placement and not threaten people. If you don't take this particular house, we're going to put you out, different things like that is what I've been seeing lately, which is not fair to the person. So we have to get busy, roll up the sleeves and close these gaps. And that's what we're doing here. And so hopefully, there is funding, but what they're using funding for right now is another story. It's like using 211. When you use 211, they may only be helping families right now this week, or they may only be helping single mothers, but it's not always all people at all times. So that's some things to know. Yes, Laura?
Well, I have a question. So if you found a woman who needed a placement, you can't just place her at Gloria's?
No, because she may not have any income at all. Say if it's somebody that's on SSI, SDI, or retirement, and they have enough money to cover the bed, then yes.
Mhm.
If they look at it and they see that's where they want to be, then yes. But other than that, now, if they don't have any income and she has no funding, it won't work. Yeah, if she has some funding coming in, and she could say, oh, this is enough funding for this lady for 6 months, maybe. But then do you feed them 3 times a day? Their food is on their own.
No, everybody we have get CalFresh.
Oh,
Okay, so they got that part taken care of. They get plenty of food.
but is it the hot meals or not?
No, a lot of times if they can't cook, we'll show them how to cook.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
we want to prepare them so when they go out on their own, they will be able to do whatever they need to do to maintain a house. Now, I know that there's this push to put people into permanent housing,
Right.
but I can tell you from being what I see in transitional housing, they need to go through transitional
Yes.
housing.
I think everybody should go through
Yes.
transition, even if it's just for 6 months.
Yeah.
I think every last person needs transitional housing, and they get a referral from there, whether or not they're violent or whether or not they're destructive as far as the residents is concerned. That transitional period will help them and help you to identify these traits and behaviorisms. So I think I think transitional should be mandatory for
I
every
agree.
person. I don't think that anybody, matter of fact, I know that it may be 1% that can go straight from the street to transition.
Yeah.
To permanent housing. So
Yeah.
that's something that really needs to be looked at, and then collect the data. If they don't do it that way, how many people is gonna sock the landlord? How many people are gonna take a hatchet and break the fence or break the sink or break the whatever? So you don't know.
Yeah.
But if you have them in transition from at least 6 months to a year where you can interact with the person, you know exactly where they are.
Yeah, I had a lady come in who had, she came from a rehab. She was there 2.5 years, but I can tell you it's a wonderful success story. The first year, it took her a year to start coming out to our weekly meetings because of the depression was so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then she started warming up. And just last week, she graduated from LA, Trade Tech.
Oh.
And she started during COVID because we were on lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just excited. She got a house, she got an apartment, she got a car, she got a job. She started her own line of sober living clothing because she's been sober. And she started speaking up and teaching and going out to speak with AA meetings. And she's a wonderful success story.
Well, she took a year
True,
to listen.
but that's what she said. She
Yeah.
said there was, like you mentioned, the anxiety. I just couldn't even bring myself to a 1 day a week meeting.
Mhm.
And so it takes people time. So the people who are coming through and they're saying, oh, you can only stay at this shelter 90
Right,
days,
right.
go to this one 90
That's
days,
more
and
anxiety.
make that whole circuit for the year. I'm telling you, that doesn't work.
That doesn't work at all. And that brings me to the next question. How long can a person stay at your
They can stay as long as they need, but we really set it up. We're thinking it would take about 24 months
Yeah.
to really
sounds
to
about
get a job, you know, learn how to manage their money, open a bank account, handle their business.
Mm-hmm.
And then we teach time management, all the things that they need to know so they can function on their own.
That sounds about right, because the program that we're working with the interim housing is a 3-year program, but they don't have to stay 3 years.
Right.
I think that 8 months to 24 months is sufficient,
Yeah.
but let them grow on their own timing. But there's a couple of people right now ready for their housing. They're ready, and they have their own housing prior. It's just that, circumstantial and behaviors,
Yeah.
has altered that. And so, any other questions for Dr. Gloria? Any other? Okay.
And Dr. Gloria, I'm sorry. Can you please repeat the website address? Because I entered, I may have missed the spelling of it.
That's MINNIE, like Minnie Mouse, S, and then SHELL.
Okay.
At the oil company.
Okay.
Does that look right as I'm typing it?
I
Oh,
can
Thomas
see
just
it.
did it. It's okay.
Tom got it up there.
Tom already got it up there.
Minnie Shell
Yeah,
with 2 S's.org.
Okay, so, yeah.
Oh,
No,
good.
you don't have to look at it here. I'm still learning the system. Do I look here or do I
Put
look
on my
there?
glasses.
Right. Look,
Put on my
even
glasses,
if
see
you
that?
put on your glasses, you can't see that.
So I can just.
It's
figure
correct.
out.
Let's take the word is correct, and if it doesn't work, always
Yeah.
feel free to call me.
All right, yeah.
But we'll move on to our next speaker, since there's no other further questions right now for Dr. Gloria, maybe later on in the program. But we would like to introduce Mr. Benny Tenson, and he is director of the Licensed Adult Residential Care Association, better known as LARCA. So, with no further ado, Mr. Tenson.
Thank you. First of all, Benny Tenson, Executive Director of Licensed Adult Residential Care Association. Thank you so much, Tori, for the invite tonight.
Oh, you're welcome.
And this is home for me because my family settled here in this neighborhood, just right behind this house, the second house from the corner after migrating from New Orleans, Louisiana. And when the restrictive covenants were removed in this neighborhood in the 1950s, they bought a house here right behind this house that we are in today on 23rd Street. So it's good to be back in the neighborhood. Tonight, I want to speak to you, and I do represent and am the voice of over 280 state licensed adult residential facilities and residential care facilities for the elderly that care and house Angelenos, more than 10,000 Angelenos here in Los Angeles County who are considered low income. So that means they are receiving the SSI check.
Right.
And they are living with serious mental illness. So I want to thank Dr. Mitchell for the work that she is doing, because often what we find is that there are dual diagnoses with those who are suffering with a mental illness. They're also often also dealing with substance abuse issues. As I speak to you tonight, I just want to share a little bit about the Licensed Adult Residential Care Association. We were formed through a partnership between Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health and the National Alliance on Mental Illness of Greater Los Angeles County. And so our members are really dedicated to caring for those who, unfortunately, they can't care for themselves. And so to put a face on the residents that our members serve, they're oftentimes the people who are forgotten, the people who are pushing baskets on the street corners, or they're talking to themselves in front of the convenience stores. You see them walking all over Los Angeles, and they are in need of supportive services just as they are in need for housing. And so when we talk about housing and housing first, we have to make sure that we're not just focusing on the housing, but we're also talking about the supportive services that these individuals need so that they can live lives of dignity, and then also eventually transition so that they can live a life, their life, as they see fit. And so there is a lot of attention that needs to be placed at the state level on supportive housing. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But I want to bring to your attention that we do have beds available as well. We have over 900 beds that we have counted that are available throughout the county. But there's a problem with filling those beds. Right now, we have facilities here in Los Angeles County that are at risk of closure. The Community Care Licensing Division is a division within the California Department of Social Services. So the California Department of Social Services just released what is called the AB 1766 population list. This is a list of residential facilities that take care of adults between the ages of 18 and 59, and also those facilities that take care of seniors 59 and plus. Okay, just in the past quarter in 2023, we saw 27 facilities close here in Los Angeles County. All right, these facilities are closing because of the funding. And so while Mayor Bass, and we applaud the work of our mayor, she has been working very hard to the point where I understand she has COVID. And so as she's working hard with county officials to try to move people off of the street, we're now looking at people going onto the street who are living with serious mental illness. So we are trying at this point to prevent those who are already housed from becoming homeless.
Yes.
All right. These individuals are receiving the SSI payment, or check, as we call it in the neighborhood. If your doctor diagnoses you with a mental illness, you will receive $44 a day. That's what the state provides to you to live on. $44 a day, that's approximately $1,400 a month. It's simply not enough money for an adult to live on. And so the way it works is if you're diagnosed with a serious mental illness, you receive the SSI check. The resident then turns that SSI check over to the licensee of the adult residential facility or the residential care facility for the elderly. $44 a day does not cover your housing. In the city of Los Angeles, a sleazy motel, we're not talking about a nice hotel, we're talking about a motel that just is providing you with a bed, is over $125 a night. These facilities are not only providing the housing, but they're providing the care. That means that these individuals that have severe mental illness, they have to have 24 hours, 7 days a week staff who are working with them to meet their basic needs. The minimum wage in the city of Los Angeles is $16. There's no one that's willing to work for $16 today with the population that we are talking about. All right, so adult residential facilities and residential care facilities are closing simply because the residents are not receiving enough money. It's very difficult when you are trying to run a facility and you're only receiving the $44 a day when you have to pay the mortgage, you have to pay for the staff, you have to pay for repairs. The population we're talking about, it is not uncommon for them to punch a hole in the wall
Right.
or to knock a window out.
Right.
All right, we have certain residents that have diagnoses or disorders in which they like to run the water all day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Utilities.
Mm-hmm.
the utilities are sky high. And so that is why a number of these facilities, and then on top of that, you put inflation. These facilities have to provide 3 meals a day, 2 snacks.
Mm-hmm.
The population we're talking about, if they don't get their 3 meals and their 2 snacks,
You'll hear about it.
you'll hear about it. All right. So there's a need for funding to increase the daily rate that those who are receiving the SSI payment and are diagnosed with a mental illness. If you are diagnosed, and this is the inequitable part and discriminatory part that we need to be mindful of, if your doctor diagnoses you with a developmental disability or an intellectual disability, like Asperger's syndrome, cerebral palsy, or Down syndrome, the state has in place an elaborate system, which we call the regional center system, and there's also funding that is tied to that system. All right? So there is a tiered rate structure that those individuals are placed on, and the money that they receive is based on the level of care that that person needs. That daily rate averages anywhere between $300 a day up to a maximum of $500 a day, but based on the level of care that you need, that the resident needs. So the problem is around the funding. The residents are simply not receiving the funds that they need to be able to live. So it's very difficult for these individuals to find a place to go. There are very few places today in Los Angeles that will even take anyone on SSI. They simply cannot take them because it's not enough money to care for them. And so many of these facilities will only take you for $3,500 a month and above. And so many of the families have to come up with the additional funds. Otherwise, many of these people have no place to go, and so they end up on the street. Okay, so we have beds available, and we do have members. We have over 280 LARCA members. They're all state licensed. We're not talking about unlicensed facilities. We're talking about people who are licensed through the state of California. They are willing to take these individuals in. We have beds that are available, but we need help from the state. And so this morning I was down in Orange County meeting with the California Behavioral Health Planning Commission, Homeless and Housing Committee. And so we are building support across the state. We are moving a petition currently, and you can sign our petition. We ask that you sign our petition. We are demanding from the state legislature and the governor that all of those facilities that care for people with serious mental illness and that are receiving the SSI check, or all of those, in addition, all of those facilities that are listed on what is considered the AB 1766 list. These are facilities that have been identified by the state at risk of potential closure. So we're demanding that there be immediate funds allocated for these facilities to prevent their closure. We're not asking the governor or the legislature for any additional money. We understand the situation that the state is facing and the unwillingness of the governor to commit any additional funds ongoing because of the state budget crisis that we are facing, that he says that we're facing, and we believe that we have to be fiscally responsible, and so we're not asking for any additional funds. What we are asking for is that there has already been money set aside through the community care expansion funds. This money was set aside to build housing to house those who are homeless. The money we're asking to be diverted from capital projects so that we can focus on people.
Right.
We've got people right now that are at risk of homelessness.
Yes.
And so we cannot have these facilities closed. And so we've been reaching out to also Dr. Corey Jackson, who is chair of the Human Services Committee within the State Assembly, because there has to be immediate action now. Otherwise, there are other facilities. I have a member who was joining me this morning. I was hoping that she would be able to join me this evening, but she is facing closure as of August if we do not get any immediate help. And so we're asking for an immediate $2,000 for each bed that these facilities are licensed for, to keep them open in the short term. That's the short term.
Yeah.
We've got to deal with keeping them open so that they don't close. Now, the long-term fix here is going to take some time. The state has been studying increasing the SSI rate, and it's also going to take some help from the federal government in order to make that happen, because the funding sources are from the federal government and also from the state through SSI. And so as the state continues to study and we begin to also build support in Washington, D.C., we want to look in the long term at how we put in place a tiered rate structure for those who are seriously mentally ill, similar to the structure that's already in place for those who have developmental disabilities. It has to be based on their level of care that they need, so that they are getting the services and the care that they need with these residents. Okay.
I have a couple of questions so far. Keep in mind that this is on YouTube.
Right.
And so try to focus that way.
Okay.
Also, we have audience.
And, yeah,
Okay.
right.
Participants.
Right. So
No, I appreciate that you're
Yeah.
also talking to us.
I do too, but yeah, I keep seeing the back of his head. But out of the 900 beds that you have currently that are available, how many are the 18 to 59 category?
We have 280 members within LARCA, and over 130 of those facilities are ARFs, so they are adult residential facilities.
Right.
Those are facilities that care for people between the ages of 18 and 59.
Okay. And so the remainder, 150 or so,
Are
are
residential care facilities for the elderly. So these are
the 59 plus.
59, 60 plus.
Okay, 60 plus, yeah.
And so we have facilities that are located all over the county, and we have members that are willing to take the SSI payment. So all of
Okay.
our members are willing to take the SSI payment, but yeah, it's generally very difficult to find somewhere to go if you have SSI and if you don't have any additional money.
Right.
Now, LA County Department of Mental Health, through the state of California, does provide what is called a patch to facilities that care for individuals. But that money is really directed towards getting people off of the street.
Right.
You see the mayor's office in the city, which is rightfully so, and the board of supervisors, they're quickly moving to get people off of the street.
Right.
But we've got to also focus on people who are already housed, because we don't want them going onto the street.
Right.
All right. So we've got to have the funding in place for them, and that's what we're talking about. Okay, getting the people the money that they need so that they can get the housing and care that they need.
Well, I need to look into it a little further, but there was $150 million sent back to the government because of non-compliance or certain type of, that they couldn't fill right away. Whatever the reasoning is, I'm sure something like your facility could have utilized those funds. But it's just a matter of how can they get it back? How soon can we get it back? And could you have some immediate placement? Now, is it mandatory that every person that you place have a mental illness diagnosis?
No, we have facilities that will care for those with developmental disabilities as well.
Mhm.
So LARCA, we represent those residents that are living with SMI, but we also have residents and facilities that care for people with developmental disabilities as well.
Okay,
Okay.
so that's good to know because out of the 60 women or so that I am involved with, not all will be able to live on their own in permanent housing.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, one of the girls came up to me the other day and said, "Can I just stay here? Can I just stay here? Can I live here?" And I'm like, why not? Some of the interim housing, once the 3-year project's over, the funding runs out, why can't they live there, and get a little job or something to be able to pay. But like you said, I think they're getting like 120 a day, because the rates have not subsided just because it's full. Which you think there would have been some type of price break for the situation, but it kind of balances out because of the damages that occur, because of the water running that occurs, because things are happening, and things do happen because sometimes they just get them maybe from MacArthur Park or somewhere. They don't know behaviorism from Adam. So different things, and they will try you to try to break alcohol and everything on the premises and things like that, and you have to be able to catch that.
Yeah.
And even though it's a low barrier place, we don't really hover over them. But when you come in with a wagon full of alcohol, it's so obvious, you have to what's going on here? No, this cannot be on the premises. Then you just have to maintain and control that. So there's a new organization. I keep hearing you say prevention, and prevention is a big deal. Just had a couple that was displaced out of their apartment that they had been in for 50 years.
50.
50. Near the marina, and they wanted market rate rent. They didn't want the old 50-year rent that they had forever. So that couple was displaced. And so fortunately, they got into a hotel here in City 10 and were able to help them from that point. So it's like, really? Really? Where's the humanity in all this? And they didn't understand that they were supposed to fill out certain paperwork for a moratorium. A lot of people didn't even know what moratorium was. And so I just ended up helping a couple of people last week for their Section 8 paperwork to send in their renewal because they don't know how to work on computers. So it's so many people that don't know how to work on computer, and now it's required to be electronically sent. So it's like, oh boy, there's gonna be a whole lot of people that need help just with that aspect. So that's a part of what we need to do as a resource in different communities. But there is a new agency that they formulated. It's called agency. So it's called like La Casa.
Okay.
The acronym is LACAHSA.
You're gonna do that one more
And
time.
I'll repeat that. It's LACAHSA, which stands for Los Angeles County Affordable Housing. What's this? Solutions Agency.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So they, garnered about 8 people. I think I saw. They sent it to me on the email that are actually on this committee, and Holly Mitchell happens to be one of them.
Yes.
And so we'll see what their mission ends up being ultimately. But I got the gist that it's supposed to be for the prevention piece.
Yes.
So hopefully,
Yes.
because you're right, people are coming out just as quick as they're going in. And the unit that's been in the news all week about displacement of the 577 units in Barrington Square. Oh my God, it just gathered my attention because I saw somebody's name I knew that lives there. And I was like, oh. So I immediately called her and said, what is going on over here? Because I like to get it firsthand, as opposed to exactly what the newspapers say. But come to find out, a portion of that building was burned. There's 3 buildings. A portion of it was burned. Who knows why, how. But now he tried to attempt, the goal is to use the Ellis Act to remove the people from the building to put in sprinkler systems.
To quote rehab.
To rehab it, yes.
I just
And
want
so that's just unheard of.
I want to go into the supportive housing piece.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit more about that.
That's
but
good.
before I do that, I do want to ask for your support, and if you could go to our website, www.
Hang on, here we go again.
www.larcala.org. On there, if you scroll down to the bottom, you can sign the petition. We really would like your support. And you can also donate to the cause. We are very fortunate to have the support of the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health. We are also being supported by the Board of Supervisors here in LA County. We're also being supported by the Hilton Foundation. They have been supporting us, as well as Cedar Sinai. Our friends over at Cedar Sinai have made it possible that we are able to continue to fight for these residents. Again, we have over 10,000 residents that our members are caring for. So we're very grateful for the community support and financial support that we're getting from our partners.
So would you mind, since I'm chatting it now, sign the petition to do what?
Sign the petition to give $2,000 to the adult residential facilities and residential care facilities for the elderly. And for each bed that they're licensed for, that's going to help them stay afloat and prevent them from closing. And then number 2, we're asking the governor and the state legislature to implement what is referred to as the 1915C waiver. This would eventually put a tier structure in place so that those who are living with serious mental illness will be on a similar scale to those who are living with developmental disabilities.
So give it to me quick. And 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Number 2 would be implementing the 1915C waiver.
Okay. 1915C waiver. Okay.
Yes. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about HOPICS and some of the other agencies. I do think, and LASA, I'm very happy to see that LASA is on the call tonight. I just think that we have to talk a little bit more and also have a little bit more communication, because there are oftentimes people who are going into programs like HOPICS who are in need of supportive services. So these are individuals that should be referred over to LARCA, because we have the membership that can provide the support that they need. All right. So when you're talking about people who are dealing with schizophrenia and bipolar, paranoia, they have to go into supportive services. These people cannot go into a motel. They can't go into an apartment by themselves.
They should.
They can't. They have
But they
to
do.
have the
But they
support.
do.
Yes.
I'll give you an example. I had a young lady, very young lady, and she was one of our clients. And one day she just said, she came and got me. She said, Miss, somebody put lipstick all over my room, right? Oh my, she was really, and I was like, I don't hardly ever go in their room, but I took security with me, went in the room, and it was just a very faint smear on her pillowcase. And nothing was on her television. She thought it was on her television too. And so I just said, oh my God, somebody came and cleaned everything up for you. It's all gone and it is not coming back, right? And so she accepted that. She said, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I said, you know, I don't see any more, do you? And then she said, no, it's all gone. I was like, okay, so let's go back outside and do what you were doing, blah, 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 blah. And if anything else comes back, you let me know. But it's not coming back. And, you know, just convinced her that it wasn't there, you know? And so they have hallucinations, they have paranoia, and you have to be able to identify that these things are occurring in order to have the appropriate response. So, and not everybody can identify it, so that gives them a frustrated response, and that triggers them to be angry or disappointed or start crying or get depressed. So you got to know what your responses are and how they will react to certain things. And go ahead about the supportive.
Okay, so now in terms of the supportive housing, we have a problem with the lack of supportive housing in the state. And the main problem is the way that the funding is handled. It is handled for the development of these supportive housing units. And so right now, the way it works is that if you want to construct a supportive housing unit in the city of Los Angeles or in the county of Los Angeles, you have to go out and couple the funds from various sources. So it's really hard to put together the funding necessary to construct a supportive housing unit. All right, and so we've got to deal with the financing piece so that it makes it easier for these projects to be built. And then we have to make sure that we also have people with lived experience who are at the table so that we're making sure that the supportive services are included in these housing developments that are built. All right. Now, in LARCA, we are starting to have conversations about how we also not only preserve adult residential facilities and residential care facilities for the elderly, but we have the nerve to talk about also expanding at a time when we're also facing closures. All right. And so we believe that there's a model in place in Oakland, in Alameda County, that we are also looking to implement here in Los Angeles County so that we can make sure that those properties, especially in this area that we sit in, as we go further west, these facilities that are caring for people with serious mental illness, when they close, what happens is there are developers standing there waiting to snatch them up. And so as soon as the facility closes, a developer comes in, purchases it, and then redevelops the property as a expensive condominium, high-rise apartment building, which then displaces those people who are living with serious mental illness, who are also low-income people.
Yes.
Okay, and so we have to prevent that. And so we are looking at how we implement a land trust so that we can create a land trust for those who are living with serious mental illness. We are working in partnership with the NAMI families and also all of our friends that are part of the SMI, the Seriously Mentally Ill Care Community, so that we can make sure that these properties, we want to make sure that these properties remain in perpetuity to be used to house and care for those who are living with serious mental illness. And so we're looking at how we can acquire these properties and then also make sure that we can find an operator who can operate these facilities so that we can keep them open. But in the meantime, we really need your help to force the governor and the legislature to provide this immediate funding. But in terms of the long-term solution, we've got to not only preserve the housing stock that we do have, but we've got to look at how do we move aggressively. And there was an article in the LA Times, I believe today, that talked about the need for the city to acquire city-owned properties and look at developing them. And so we are wanting to work with the city and the county in partnership, and the Housing and Homeless Committee, because Councilwoman Nithya Raman in the committee came forward with this recommendation that the city looks at acquiring properties. And so this will allow us to really focus on those facilities that are caring for the seriously mentally ill, because we can't afford to lose any more facilities.
Right.
And every time a facility goes up for sale, the developers, they're right there and they're offering, 2 times, 3 times the amount that the property is worth. And so there's no way for us to be able to hold on to it. And so they are MHSA funds that we hope to also be able to leverage. And we're looking at other funding sources, but we've got to build supportive housing. And right now it's really difficult to do.
Yeah, it is. Give the general public your acronyms that you mentioned. You said NAMI, you said MHSA.
Yes. Okay, NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness. So that is our fiscal sponsor for LARCA and also our partner. We work very closely with the National Alliance on Mental Illness of Greater Los Angeles County.
Okay, and then
MHSA. So the MHSA is the Mental Health Services Act funds.
Okay. Did I do this right?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, right.
MHSA, Mental Health Services Act funds.
Okay, and then I have another question. What facilities do you utilize to take your clients to when there's an episode? Or you have Thalians, since you mentioned Cedars, and unfortunately I've worked in most of these places. So you have Thalians and you have Kaiser, and they have a whole mental health. See, a lot of people think when you talk about mental health facilities that they're all closed. They're not. That is a myth, because they still have facilities that I've sent my students to in the Valley, which is, I had Mission Hospital, St. Joseph's, in Torrance, in San Fernando Valley, I've sent to different places. And this is just to do their internships. Mm-hmm. And I've taken them on tours to these facilities, so I know they exist. And the Kaiser, they used to call me to convert their coding for reimbursement, for their billing and coding from the DHS codes, so they could get reimbursed. So I know they exist. We're in Hudson. You have facilities around town. So do you use them all, or do you have others that you add to the list for people that could take their loved ones? Because I've gotten calls in the middle of the night, or 10 o'clock in the morning, or 7 o'clock in the morning. Where can I take my brother? Or where can I take my mother? Or where can I take them? Blah, 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 Is there a 24-hour facility somewhere that you use? Because there's no time that you can identify and pinpoint when you will have a crisis.
So when the LARCA member, when the licensee takes on a client from the state of California, they are taking on them for life. So the people that the LARCA members are caring for are essentially with them for life.
Can they hear you?
And so when they have the episodes, our members have to work with them. Now, if they're in need of emergency services, of course, there's emergency places for them to go, but our members are dealing with them and administering their medications, dealing with whatever episodes that they have.
Okay.
All that's dealt with in the home. So it's not very easy. It's a very difficult thing to be able to do, especially for those facilities in South Los Angeles, because we have a lot, and I encourage you, if anyone wants to come visit some of our facilities, we have some beautiful homes in South Los Angeles. In fact, most of our homes are the best looking homes on the block. I can take you into South Los Angeles and our homes look very good. All right. And so we have people who are keeping people in their home. They are living in their home with these residents, and they are providing anywhere between 4 to 6 beds. All right. And so it's really difficult when you're doing this 24 hours a day, and you can't really bring anyone in because you're not making enough money to pay the mortgage, pay the light bill, and feed these individuals. And so you are working 24 hours, 7 days a week without any break. All right. So it's really difficult.
Don't say that to us. We don't want the labor board to come get you.
Okay.
I can relate. I understand. I can't hire anybody because I don't have any funding, and I have a salary that's been authorized, $3,000 a month, but it's on deferment. It's being accrued.
Oh my
I
goodness.
got one $3,000 in January of this year. So yes, and I'm working every day. And so when you were talking about funding, I didn't know if you would mention it, but when we opened the house in 2018, we had some people from DPSS. Their rate was $575 in 2018, and as far as I know, it's still $575 today, even though we got a 10% rate increase on the rent that's been authorized in this year. So I'm saying, how are we expected to keep up? And the utility bills are through the roof.
Right.
For the gas this past winter and the DPWP. So whatever it is that I'm hearing about, all the funding that's coming in, funding is here. Where is it?
Where is
Where
it?
is
We haven't seen it.
They do say
Okay?
that.
We haven't seen it.
It would be nice if you guys reach out to Cindy Comlager's office.
The money that was allocated for the construction, now we've been trying to get our hand on it, but the money has been going to developers. So only the big developers are getting this money from the state. I have members in South Los Angeles. We would love to build a facility in South Los Angeles, but we don't have the money to do it. All right, the
It
developers.
sounds like you guys need to go to city council, because developers have to go through those processes to get permits and et cetera. And this is Laura's bailiwick. I mean,
but
she's planning and
I understand, but they're doing massive projects and they do have to put together these funding packages.
Right.
It's hard for us to do that.
Right, and they've got entire teams of people. So when you say developers, it's mostly nonprofit housing developers, but not entirely.
Yeah.
We've begun to see some dubious proposals of 100% affordable housing from individuals, and it's like, how are you paying for that?
right.
So, in other words, is this just a proposal so you can get all those quick entitlements and the expediting and
Right.
from the land use perspective?
Right,
but
and
will
use
it
it for
really
something else.
be?
Right.
Well, they'll build it, but will it really be
Affordable housing.
100% affordable
So
housing?
That needs to be defined, affordable housing.
Yes.
I saw some places that were built, they're not affordable for people who have no money.
Well,
Yes.
but that's the other issue.
Right.
I mean, in other words, the new state laws as implemented, of course, in Los Angeles, because LA doesn't have a choice, they're using the phrase affordable. It isn't very, very extremely low income.
Right.
But even today, it was released today, or I saw the article today. Right now, as of right now, it's just released, very low income is $45,000 a year for an individual. There's lower than very low.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
very
various
low
tables.
income is $45,000, and low income is, I think, 60. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
They have various tables.
well,
Yeah.
that's the table, meaning, in other words, if somebody is saying, I'm gonna build 100% affordable housing, and I'm aiming for that low income, or even the next one up, moderate income, that's not that low of income.
Right.
I mean, it would be
Yeah.
hard to purchase a house with that income. And it
Absolutely.
might be hard to rent the medium priced apartment, but it's really hard to say that somebody making $60,000 a year needs affordable housing, even though they do.
The people we're
Right,
talking about
Right.
are 200% below the federal poverty line.
Right.
That is why they receive SSI.
Correct.
So these people they are poor, bro. We are talking about people who don't have.
Right.
Okay.
And that's the it's a below poverty line is 10,000 or something like that in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Right.
But
Laura,
nobody's
could you do me a
building that.
favor and
Sure.
put your name in the chat and
my name.
my name as well, because
Sure.
we're not identified up there, and of UNNC.
You know, I also wanted to say, because I'm also a property owner here in the West Adams district, and a mom and pop owner of rental units here in the city of Los Angeles. And we're also having a hard time because, we're trying to house people who are homeless as well in rental units, but we have been hit hard. Now, us who are small property owners, many of us went without any rents through the entire pandemic.
Right.
And we could not raise our rent. And many of our properties fell into disrepair. And so we also need help because many of us, we have plumbing issues, we have roof issues, things that have happened through the pandemic. We have places that are sitting vacant.
Right.
But we need help from the city and the county to help us get the properties up and going so that we can bring these people in.
Right.
Off the street. Now, I just dealt with Hoppix, and I'm trying to move in a young man and his girlfriend and their baby. They were sleeping in a car, and then they were able to be moved into a motel, and now we're trying to move them into the house. Okay, and so we need some assistance for those small mom and pop landlords in the city of LA to help them
I
with
asked
the
for that today.
repairs.
I asked for that today.
So that they can get their property in line. So when Section 8 comes out,
Right.
because see, a lot of the small property owners, and we were all members of the Minority Apartment Owners Association
Right.
with Malcolm Bennett
Oh,
before he passed away. So we were very active. And so many of us have sold our property here in the city of Los Angeles. Many African Americans. I'm talking to the African American community now. We came in. My family is one of the families that came in the 1930s. The first batch came in 1936. Others came in the 1950s. And we bought our property. And so there was a concerted effort here in the West Adams district to move us out. The city came in with folks coming in, organizing the community and organizing the tenants to complain against the landlords. And we were already strapped because in the 90s, many of us, we couldn't even fill our units because of the recession.
Yeah.
And so as rent control came in, it made it harder for us to raise our rents. At the same time, the expenses were continuing to rise. And so whenever I have to call out a plumber, there's no moratorium on his bill. He charges me what he's gonna charge me. So it's hard to keep afloat.
Oh, okay. I see the question. Donna?
I just wanted, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to agree. You know, Tori, how I
I
feel.
knew
What they want you to do, and I no longer, you're a very nice man, because I am not going to rent to anybody that comes out of any of the programs, because once they're there, you get no support. And they tell you now that the Section 8 has helped you get them in, and they start tearing your stuff up, making your other tenants move, then they tell you, treat them like you do your other tenants. You get no support. I had a mentally disturbed veteran, his own therapist and his own support from Veterans Affairs, they were afraid of it. So therefore, I was stuck with it. The man was digging holes and putting in trees, doing all kinds of things. So it taught me a lesson. What do I say, Tori?
You're gonna wait and be patient, and we're gonna come up with a solution.
And
Oh, that's
I
not
was talking
true.
about
Not
this
true.
before.
It's over with.
Look, she's not gonna do it. So, but I did talk to Hoppings today. I did mention what I mentioned to you guys before. We're coming with a referral letter from interim housing to tell you which ones are not violent and which ones are not destructive. So that's a thought of a part of a solution. And they said, oh, that's a really good idea. I said, yeah, but this has to be implemented throughout the system of interim housing. You have all these places you place all these people in. There should be someone at each site who can actually give a referral to landlords, to the mom and pop landlords, to eliminate that fear, and that thought that it's gonna happen one day. I mean, if they can stay with us for a year or two and we don't have any episodes like that, then 9 times out of 10 they'll be good tenants. Because there are some good people. A lot of them, again, are from domestic violence situations, or one of them in particular has a $2.5 million house, but the family is disputing and battling over who's supposed to get it, even though it's supposed to be the person we have, so it's a whole lot of different situations. And these are good people. Some are really smart. Oh my God. Yeah, it's amazing. And a couple, been blown up in Vietnam, but still very high functioning. The spectrum is so 0 to 100. So there are, between that 0 to 100, you have at least 40% that can fall in the category of being a good tenant.
Okay, now I want to say this again, because I just want to drive this home about the effort that went on in this community where we're sitting right now, and as we go further east into the West Adams district, it was a concerted effort. When I was in graduate school at Pepperdine University, and I was working with a professor at the time, Joe Kotkin, and he wrote a book called Metropolis. I invite you to go read it. And as I was sitting in class, I kept saying, well, where are we in this picture of this new Los Angeles? Mm-hmm. And I could never see where African Americans were in this new Los Angeles that he was talking about. Mm-hmm. As the discussion way back in the 90s, they started discussing about redeveloping downtown Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And I could never figure out where were we in the picture. But as a property owner here in the West Adams district, I saw firsthand organizers coming, talking to my tenants, the city implementing what is called the rent escrow abatement program, and many small landlords, predominantly African Americans in South Los Angeles, who came together and formed the Minority Apartment Owners Association, had to sell their property because their rents were being held by the city because they were unable to make the repairs to their property. Many of us went 7 years without receiving our rents. The rents were collected from the tenant and held by the city.
See what I mean, Tori?
When we were eventually able to get out of the program, the city automatically took 50% of the money for administrative costs, leaving us with only half after we had gone 7 years without any money. So many African Americans got caught up in that program. We went to supervisor, city councilman at that time, Mark Ridley Thomas, and his staff told us, good luck getting out of the rent escrow abatement program. So many African Americans who came here, these people sweat, they bled, they died to own their property in the city of LA, and they were forced to sell because they weren't collecting any rent. This is still going on, the rent escrow abatement program.
Wow, we got an earful right there. What did you say, Donna?
Right, Tori, I understand his pain. So I learned, I got out of the program and I'll never get back in.
How did you get out?
Never. And when I say never, never is probably 2 days shorter than what I mean.
But this is not in Section 8.
I know.
These are the rules
I know.
within the city of LA, rent control. Okay.
So is this across the state?
No, it's a strange program. We bought a property that was in the program, only it was vacant. So it can't be in the program.
Right.
Because it has to have a tenant.
In order to get in the program.
Right.
Okay.
But it was also in vacant and abandoned building nuisance. So it's like, okay, on the face of it, it can't be
Right.
in this
Program.
And it did take 2 years to get out.
How?
They weren't taking any rent from us, it was
Right.
vacant.
Right.
But it took 2 years just to get out of the program.
But how was it even in the program if it was empty at the time of purchase and a nuisance?
It was already in the program.
Oh, it was already
And,
in the
I mean,
program.
we bought it, hailed by heroes from the Department of City Planning. It was a landmark, it's a landmark, it's right down the street from here. A landmark property, it was a city landmark, hailed as heroes for rescuing it, but, the housing department just didn't care. Because they're still looking at the liens and the dollar,
Right,
they're-
right.
And it was difficult. And I mean, it didn't cost us any money, but it cost us a lot of time and heartache.
Oh, yeah, of course. So in your case, Donna, how were you able to get out of the program and how long did it take you?
Well, the problem was damages done, like he said, by the tenants. So that I had taken in by Section 8, and they dropped them because they weren't following their rules. So I was in the situation where we had a contract with Section 8, and in the middle of it, Section 8 came and said, these people committed fraud. We don't want them anymore. Guess who they left them on?
Right.
Who? What? Who?
Her.
Me. So I got someone that Section 8 dropped, and I was left holding that bag. So now I'm very careful. I almost take no Section 8, and I'm definitely not taking anybody with mental health problems or, Tori, I don't do the homeless thing. So can't do it anymore. I paid my dues. I did it for 3 years. I finally got rid of them. And I said, more fool me if I do it again.
Well, yeah.
And like he said, my family came here in the 40s. They slept on the ground and rented rooms in a house they bought. Where I inherited property, she bought 9 pieces of property as a teacher. And what you're telling me, I know your story. Laura knows it too. I grew up Palm Grove, off West Adams, nearly at La Brea. Like you, my family came here early. They worked hard, and now the state wants to tell us how. And if you leave anything empty, they're going to grab it, snatch it, build a 4-story building in the middle of a historic area, and make money off of it.
Lots of it.
How are they doing that in the historic district without, in the middle of the historic, the HPLZ?
Okay, we're asking the same question. There's a new state law, and I don't know the AB number, but then the mayor also signed an emergency order that waives everything. Making these if it's 100% affordable, making the projects fully what's called ministerial and not discretionary.
They build them, and the
And
people
therefore
that he's describing, the people you guys are describing will not be in those apartments, I can tell you. They're not gonna
We
take
know
them.
that. Yeah. Well, we all know that.
No, Donna, I'm positive because I've begun to look into it. It'll be people in the, $40,000 to $60,000.
That's about
For a
Or more
single
than that.
person,
More
yeah.
than that.
But I mean, a
Yeah.
household is larger.
Anytime you charging $3,500 on the corner of Adams and Hoover, then we have a problem.
But what I'm saying, the mayor's order
Yeah,
basically use the broadest terms of affordable, so it includes what we would call moderate income. It's about
Yeah.
$100,000 a year. That if you could build a building 100% affordable at moderate.
oh wow, that's what they
And while
twist on that.
well, you know what? Actually, I support
Yeah.
people. I mean, there is nobody building housing for the missing middle. That would be the missing middle. I just don't think they should have the same special expediting
Right.
and forgiveness of the rules.
Right.
I mean, that those kind of incentives don't make sense.
Mm-mm.
Or don't make complete sense. But no, we need housing for what rational people call the missing middle,
Yeah.
which are people
Yeah.
who are in the middle income.
Yeah.
But the city calls the missing middle a housing type that nobody is building, which would be the 2-story, smaller things.
Right.
So there's a disconnect. There's a
Yes.
complete disconnect, even when
Yes.
even on that phrase missing middle. Is it a building type or is it a person?
Right.
And I think most rational people think it's persons. But anyway, so no, nobody's building. It's very difficult to do permanent supportive housing. I do know some of the people that have changed the name of Clifford Beers, which is
Oh,
now
Clifford Beer. Yeah.
has a new name.
Oh, they have a new name now?
Yes,
Oh,
don't
yeah,
ask me what it is. But they've been working on a project on St. Andrews. They haven't started building. I mean, it's years, 3 or 4 years. But they had trouble with building and safety.
That's a nonprofit developer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they really focus on permanent supportive housing, but construction. But they would like to, I mean, they like the idea of being able to essentially buy an old house and do congregate living. There's no funding for that either.
Yes, those are the things that we
I mean,
want
there's
to,
just simply no funding for that either.
those are the innovative things that we can do now that Alameda County is already doing. They're already moving in that direction.
But there's also no funding for emancipated foster kids. I mean, it's like
That's true too.
I can't figure out where there is funding because we keep talking about all the places there is not funding.
Yeah, that was my age group that I wanted to house initially.
Oh, the 18 to 26.
Yeah,
Well, the
and
18 to
then
26.
that got to be problematic. But
As well.
what I don't understand is there are a lot of vacant buildings. And seems like the city could, instead of building, I mean, why not renovate these? And they have, for example, it was a Department of Social Services building that was vacated in Inglewood, right
Inglewood.
next to that train
Oh,
station.
it's totally converted to new buildings.
That's what I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
why, there's some places, if we really wanna clean up the street, why not take these buildings and renovate the ones that are already there, put rooms in it, and give the people a place to take
Well,
off the streets?
Listen, we're totally digressing from the agenda, which is
Oh,
Right.
bit of a problem. I do know that there's another effort to look at, quote, city-owned properties, but even that's fraught with some problems because they're not asking the folks in neighborhood councils or block clubs.
Right.
So here in UNNC, they had for a minute identified a building that somehow they thought was vacant, and in fact is occupied by a bunch of nonprofits providing services in the community. I mean, it's just because someone didn't know. Not,
Right.
It's
Right.
gone. It's gone. But they were going to, they were considering maybe doing a motion to, demolish and build, and it's like
Without knowing.
because
That's
they're not
amazing.
because it's not happening transparently. They're not having town hall kind of meetings where
Right.
they are allowing people to put up their ideas. So, if you know this building or this building, they're not asking
Yeah.
on the blocks. what the
That's what
thoughts
they
are.
need to be asking.
Right,
Well,
right,
exactly.
because they're moving so fast.
Yeah, but like they had mentioned, you mentioned using existing buildings. Well, there was an article in the newspaper lately about using USC, the old medical building for housing.
Yeah.
But they also have a women's building that was intended for women's medical treatments. It's totally empty, and it's supposed to be in a relatively new building, but I don't think it's retrofitted. And it's,
Well, that's
so that's something else
the
they could
issue. The
use.
state has identified quite a few of these older buildings as
Right.
unsafe for earthquakes. So anyway, we
So
digress.
we're caught between a rock and a hard place, but we have to.
It
we
is
have
8
to.
o'clock.
It's
It's
8:01. Yeah, we're good with timing.
Mhm.
So any round robin discussion?
Well, we
Denny,
sort
were
of
you
missed it in the
finished?
middle of it.
Yeah, we did. That was it. Without announcing, that was it. But do you have any other
Well, I'll just say on
Last
the
statement.
last thing is,
closing
Yes, but no
statements?
more rants.
yeah, history repeats itself. So we went from these big institutions, Metropolitan State Hospital closing,
Yeah.
and now we're talking about abandoned buildings and putting people back into these big institutions that we closed
Right.
under the Reagan administration. So we have to do something about the funding.
Yes, that's the primary thing, and that's a good closing. Any last?
Well,
statement?
I have this thought. I have the thought. It seems like when money is given to the major or big institutions, I think the thought is that it trickles down to the mom and pops and others, so that because we're providing the services, but that's not happening.
Right.
So why not just find out what beds are available in
Yes.
the city wherever they are
Right.
and cut the red tape and then allow people who are doing the work to go ahead and get funded and continue providing the services or improve the services that are already being offered.
Yes.
That's my suggestion.
Good suggestion as well. So hopefully, we'll steer people to watch the video later for YouTube, and you should call your city officials, especially Sydney Comlager, because she's state now.
Well,
Or she's congressional.
She's
She's congressional,
No,
which
she-
could go to the federal level.
Right.
And her number is 323-965-1422. And then you have who at the state level, Senator Bradford, there's quite a few. So put your zip codes in where your facilities are and find out who your state
Who's the council
legislators are.
person for this district?
Heather Hutt is a CD10. And she was here yesterday and they talked about a few things that are possible. So that's what you need to do. Put your zip codes in, talk to your legislators, see what can be initiated on a smaller scale right now to keep you going while you're working on the grants or the funding that can occur.
I would love to come back and talk about the way the city looks, because I think we need to talk more about that. I'm amazed in South Los Angeles that we can allow the streets to look the way they do and go like there's nothing happening. Our council persons, Price, Marquise Harris Dawson, where are you? Because when I drive up and down the streets in South Los Angeles, I'm amazed with what I see. And this is unacceptable.
Well,
The trash, the debris, it's just unbelievable.
well, I know what I do.
It's unbelievable.
And clothes hanging on the fences.
Well, they're working
It's
on
inhumane.
all of that, but it takes all of us.
Yeah.
So when I see a big pile of something, I do call 311. They do tell me that somebody else has called or you called before or we're working on it.
But I'm sorry,
But a
where
lot of
are
times
the
they do it.
elected officials? Because if you're a city council person, you should be driving in your district. And if you see trash in your district, you yourself and your staff should be calling Public Works to come move the trash off the street. I live in the city of Compton. I'm a resident in the city of Compton, and we're dealing with the same thing.
Yeah.
Every time I go out of my house, I have to look at graffiti Every time I drive up and down the street in Los Angeles, I have to look at graffiti. So where are our elected officials on
Well, I have to make comment
That's a
on
good
that.
question.
I have to make comment on that, yes. So we're gonna wrap up, but I have seen the cleaning truck in Price's district. I actually see it, that their council truck goes around and picks up, and I've seen them pick it up. I've seen it. And I called 911 myself. So we have to take individual responsibility when you see certain things. So don't put everything on the council person because they cannot do it all. So we have to do and be responsible for what it is. And as far as graffiti, we have a house, it's called Grid, GRYD. They have an office down at City Hall. You can go over there and tell them where the graffiti is and they'll come out and clean it.
Is
And
Bree
so-
still over there?
Yeah,
On Hobart?
yeah, right across from Fame.
We pay all these taxes and we don't
Yeah.
see the result.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we gotta
Okay.
say it. So now, what else we have? Any other business? Well, pretty much we've covered the gamut. We've covered old business. We've covered the follow-ups. And I did have a meeting with Hoppers again. I did today. And so every day is a new day, and we just have to work on these things. We will have a follow-up meeting within 7 days, and we'll take it from there. And you guys keep hope alive. As he says.
One
Yes.
little thing here, with these RVs parked there and different things on the streets, I've gotten a parking ticket because the time on the meter ran out. Why is it people can park for a year or two on the streets on the RV, they're not told, nothing happened?
This is
Okay,
what we're talking about.
it's a big topic.
Yes.
We should agenda it as a topic, because I've actually been to a meeting, I know a little something, but we have to
Yeah,
end this
okay.
meeting.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well, answer
And
that
it's
one.
a
I'm gonna take
big
it.
topic.
Yeah.
It's a big
And
topic.
Good night,
Donna,
dear. Thank you.
and
Good
Donna-
night,
Donna-
everyone.
Oh, God.
No, Donna and I are in conversation
Yeah.
about this, but it's not on the agenda tonight.
Right. We'll work on that. Tom, did you have anything to say that you want to invite us to before?
No, ma'am. I mean, I like to, maybe I'll get in touch with Laura about organizing. I don't know if I do that through the outreach.
Oh, for the backdrop and everything.
Yeah, you know my email, Tom.
Yeah, email her.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for
And I'll
coming.
be sure to, I'm not in charge of anything at this point, but I certainly
Right.
know everyone and we'll work something out.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
It
great.
won't take long to get that done. You
No,
know.
No, I mean,
Really, you can Google the landmarks around the parameters. And
no,
see
but
what
it's
you
not
come
just
up
that. I mean, he wants to get some other stuff going. So
Yeah.
just email me and we can figure out who, what, where, how you want to
Okay.
can do
Okay.
it.
Well,
Thank you.
we'll
Thank
officially
you.
dismiss the meeting at 8:10 p.m. And thank you for joining us, Tom.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
hi about Green.
Oh, Corinne was
Thank
on
you.
there?
She's been here the whole
Oh,
time.
Corinne,
I've been
you
here.
have any questions?
Quietly here the whole time.
Yes, just listening to all the information. It's been really great.
Oh my goodness, there you are. Did you have any questions?
No, can it be placed on the next meeting about the RV situation? I would like to know everything, the information, Ms. Myers, that you collected. That would be really great to share.
Well, maybe we can get, because Danny
Well-
Chavez did a presentation, maybe we can get him to come. He's the senior lead for Angeles Vista, Harbor Heights, those neighborhoods.
Okay, we can get Danny Chavez and we can also get DOT.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so we'll have DOT and the topic will be RVs. That's a good idea. We just had a community meeting at, was that Dorsey? Yes, at Dorsey, that had a lot of the, I won't say, what are they, managers, top management,
Yes.
from different organizations. It was DOT, DPSS, different companies, about 8 of them, actually. Public Works and sanitation. Matter of fact, sanitation should be here too.
Okay, well, I'm
Okay.
saying let's do a.
Okay.
let's
I
do
got
a
it.
Topic on RVs.
Yeah, I got
I'll
it.
talk to you
But
about after.
Okay, that would be great.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good. Well, thank you
Okay.
for the next month's
Thank
topic.
All right.
We'll take it from there. Thank you for appearing
Thank you.
and staying with us for the entire meeting.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Have a good weekend,
Bye.
Kareem.
You
Okay.
too, Miss Tori.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Here,
Very informative.
Okay, did you want to copy